It's 7 o'clock. I'll call the December 2nd Town Board meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. We're going to add something, Patrick?
Yes, Mr. Chair, under added items 9A, we would like to add water meter replacement logistics, please. I've also submitted some correspondence regarding the subject matter as well to the board.
And then we also have a supplement for item 8C, the water system.
Correct.
All right, with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3, approval and payment of the bills. Did you sign
I
off?
did. I move to approve payment of the bills.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes on November 18th, 2019. Any corrections?
I saw none. Move to approve the minutes of November 18th, 2019 meeting.
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, item number 5 is a consent agenda. We've had 3 of them. If anyone has any issues with them, want to pull them off, otherwise I would look for a motion to approve.
I will move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, item number 6 is old business. Patrick O'Brien, 1382 Top Lane. Tom, are you going to do that one?
I'll do this one, sure. Mr. O'Brien was here back in August. Owns property at the corner of South Birch Lake Boulevard. It's up here, Top Lane, right here. This is the lot in question. Mr. O'Brien's home, and this is a lot he's looking to subdivide from the larger parcel, and it's in front of the town for approval tonight. Back in August, it was reviewed. It requires, at that time, we were looking at 3 variances: lot size, lot width, 2 variances, and then a minor subdivision to separate the properties. So this was the configuration that the board and planning commission reviewed in August, and prior to that, again, existing home with garage here, oddly shaped lot. Looking at drawing a line right here to split the 2. Corner lots are supposed to be 105 foot of width out of right-of-way, 12,000 square feet in area. So you can see one of the variances requested here is for a lot width variance, and the second was a square footage variance. At the time, it was calculated at under 10,000 square feet, and at the time the town board denied the request because it was under 10,000 square feet. That was a threshold you set, and we've not seen any subdivisions similar to this with small lots. But odd configuration of the lot. We were looking basically at a survey with sketch plan calculations, and the plan was sent back to the surveyor. They did review the configuration, and the actual square footage, excluding rights-of-way, is 10,332. So they've hit that 10,000 mark. Again, 12,000 square foot is the standard, so it's a square footage variance being requested, and also a lot width variance being requested. And a minor subdivision to split the lot into 2. So the variance board, when they reviewed this back last summer, they recommended approval of the requests. They did suggest that try to increase the square footage of this lot, possibly shifting this lot line right here. That has not been done. When the planning commission reviewed this, they did recommend approval of the subdivision with the variances as requested. However, they recommended that no additional variances be provided for structure when it's proposed on the lot if the subdivision is approved. And then the town board denied the proposal. Again, setting a goal for the applicant to see if they can configure that lot so it's 10,000 square feet in area. So basically the same plan you've been looking at, just recalculated. and again, 10,332 square foot. Requires a 1,668 square foot variance. It requires a 15.95 foot lot width variance, and then it requires approval of a minor subdivision. When staff put this together, assuming the town board would approve something like this, was several recommendations were included in the staff memo. They included providing 10-foot drainage and utility easements around the property lines, but not going through any existing buildings within that 10-foot area there. Payment of SAC-WAC, local SAC if a home is constructed on the lot. Payment of the utility hookup fee, because this lot was only assessed for one. And then also payment of a park fee. However, Brian's brought some additional information. Looks like this was a subdivision that was reviewed back in the 80s and approved. In fact, the park fee was paid at that time. But this is a new or slightly different configuration here. So the request is for a minor subdivision tonight with the with the lot width variance and with the lot square footage variance.
Steve, any questions of Tom?
Well, I think we brought it back to have it relooked at. I think he's got it, I think we complied that if it was over 10, we'd pretty much have to move along, so it's got it over 10. I don't have any real questions, I guess.
Scott?
I'm not as familiar with these certificates and the planning process. I know it was discussed quite a bit. I did notice on the certificate that it says it's a sketch only, no boundary survey was actually done. And again, not being familiar with the process, is that something that is normal?
In this case, where there was a question of whether it would be approved or not because of the amount of the variances, suggests that, you'd have the surveyor do as minimal work as possible. If we get to the point where the board will approve this, then we can get those detailed surveys with the easements and all set up for signature if the board approves it. So it's a little unconventional, but we'd like to help the applicant out with not spending as much as possible if there's a question mark on approval.
So would that be something on a condition of the approval as to a final survey with markers and everything? So obviously, I would gather when Mike Johnson goes out to okay any kind of building structure, he's got some points of marking to know where the setbacks are. And
Correct, yep. Deeds will have to be provided.
is that okay with the applicants? I mean, that only makes sense. You're going to want that for your own safety too, or your own,
For having a survey.
right?
Yeah, it would have to be surveyed. Something like it. This year was, I paid to have a surveyed, number counts, which you guys requested. And that's what I paid for the square footage. But if I do something like it, it would have to be a legal survey. I understand that.
Because obviously the township's going to want to see those real hard numbers, so we know where they are when they start to set out buildings and setbacks, so,
I would want to know that too.
yeah.
Tom mentioned several things that they've already discussed all those with SAC and WAC and everything else as it goes forward, all the conditions that you said that he listed.
I know some rough numbers. I don't.
But you didn't hear anything that you hadn't heard before from Tom as he explained this?
Yeah.
Staff
actually,
recommendations.
Park fees you've cleared up,
You
correct?
know what, before we go any farther, you want to just go up to the podium so we can,
Sorry.
just give your name and address so we can get it on record.
Get it on record.
Brian, 1382 Top Lane.
Okay, so, I mean, you're aware of the charges for whack and sack, and now you're aware that you'll have to have a final hard survey, so you do have actual corner markers and all that located?
Yes, I
Okay.
understand that. We had that too.
And as far as the park fee goes, that has,
It has been paid for
Paid.
each of these two parcels, which were under review for subdivision back in '83.
so all outstanding items have been addressed, pretty much?
Yep. that park fee has been addressed.
And
The
I
other
know
two would
you-
be at the time of building permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did mention the utility hookup fee, because I know
That's a
that's
big
been a
one.
conversation topic recently
Yeah.
with some other folks.
I'm good.
Yeah, and that's a big one, and we tell you that one up front, because that's a pretty large fee.
All right.
Anything else? Well, the town appreciates you guys at least getting to that 10,000 mark. We sometimes get to the point where we've got to set a minimum just for future developments, future lot splits. I know the town's got a lot of smaller lots that are still existing, but we hate to make one that's contrary to our town policy, so. But I appreciate you guys going a little extra mile here to get this scored away for us. All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Well,
It's approved.
not yet.
Not yet, no.
You're close. You're
Give us
close.
30 seconds here.
So I'll move, based on the staff review and recommendation, approve the minor subdivision for the property at 1382 Top Lane as shown in the updated survey dated 9/25/19. Is that the date of that? I thought,
Yes.
yeah.
I
That's in our
will
packet.
second that.
You also want to add a variance board recommendation, there will be no future variances allowed for a building to be constructed, and then the applicant will verify hard permanent survey markers. And was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Payment of the fees.
I'll amend it as stated by the chair.
All right, you second?
I will second that amended motion.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? You're off and running.
Now it's.
Now you're good.
Did you mention the variances at all? Probably take, that was the minor subdivision that you, okay, you might want to acknowledge that there's two variances.
Sure. I mean, that comes into the calculation of the 10,000 some odd feet, so I guess it's in the minutes as to what those variances
We
had to
should
be to get to
explicitly
that.
adopt those variances and provide our findings as why we're adopting the variances.
Well, I thought that was in the wording of the
Yeah, that's what I thought.
motion.
All right, so
So scratch all that, Megan. Let's start over.
we just need to put in the variances, so you'll need a 15.95 foot variance for the short width and a 2,210 foot variance for the,
15.95 and 1,668 square foot is the new number.
okay, if those are acceptable to you, those are the numbers we'll use, the variances.
Yes.
Yes. Okay?
All right, so you're amending your motion to approve, or include that.
The variances.
Before I second that, are there any other changes or amendments we need to put into this?
Just note that the park fee was paid in 1983 for the minutes, if you would, please.
We'll note that also.
Anything else?
Ah,
Going.
that's good.
Going.
I think we've amended it enough times.
I'll second all those amendments.
And again, motion to approve the amended,
Yes, move to approve as outlined.
and your second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Now it's complete.
Are we done?
You guys better get out of here. Thank you for being so patient, really.
Thank you.
All right, that takes care of item 6A. Item 7 is public hearings. We have none. So if we move on to new business,
Who's buying a truck?
8A. Looks like we're looking at a used tanker truck purchase.
Yes, Mr. Chair, per our discussion at our executive committee 2 Fridays ago, our Public Works Director had brought a quote for a really good deal on a tanker truck that the actual purchase for was budgeted for the 2019 year, and it's coming in about $100 under what we had budgeted it for. So what we're looking for today are two things, accepting the bid, as well as authorizing the purchase of the water tanker truck.
Were we always looking at a used one? How did we get that, oh, I was gonna say, how do we get that number?
Yeah.
The discussion really, yeah, it always was going to be a used one, and
Okay.
Yeah, I
Whether
think
it's
a new one
December or
is $75,000 to
January.
$80,000 more than
Yeah.
what we had budgeted
Wow.
for, yeah.
And I'm sure you guys had a more in-depth conversation during the executive meeting, but this is something that will be put to use right away?
Oh, yeah.
It can be used today?
Well, Not in the winter. So
Okay,
much.
well,
Well, but
true.
they're flooding rinks with it.
Flooding
Oh,
rings.
that's right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
but it's
Yes.
something that we have a need for.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
They've been looking for one for a couple of years now.
And I believe that Dale also said that we could modify this for solutions for roads, but not immediately. If a tank on the back.
That I don't know anything about.
Well, you were at the same meeting I was. Maybe I made it up. Anyway,
Well, obviously, it's a good deal, because we have a couple different communities that are looking, if we don't
Yeah.
take it, they're gonna
We're
start.
at the top of the list of about 6, and if we don't get it, it's gonna go, so.
Does this, since it's used, does it have any kind of a
Warranty?
warranty?
Yeah.
or- Does it?
Yep. I'll ask Dale what it was, but I know he mentioned that there was one.
Well, really, all we have to do is probably put our logo on it. I don't think we're gonna paint, it's black.
But we'd spoken a little bit about repainting, and it didn't seem like the board was very interested in doing that.
I see nothing wrong. Hey, it'll be like a tank heater. It's black, it'll heat up the water.
yeah.
Where are you gonna park it?
Where Ed always parks his truck.
Oh, what, in my garage?
We have plenty of space in the backyard, or in the back of Public Works.
Really? It seems like every time I go in there, it's kind of full.
Yeah,
We will find it.
right.
All right, well, if this, we okay this tonight, is this something we can pick up right away, or?
Yes.
They're waiting for us?
Yeah.
I'll-
High-pressure sales.
I'll move based on the staff review and recommendation, accept the quote for the 2007 International 7300 tanker truck.
Do I have a second?
I have a question on that first, before I second that. We accept the quote. I'm guessing that this couldn't go out to bid because it's kind of a unique piece. Do we have to?
Actually, it's a very good point. I was gonna recommend that you put on the record that the fact that this is a unique situation, that if you did put out for bid, a new tanker would be much more expensive than what you're seeing right now, that you couldn't, this is a unique situation.
So it's okay that we don't have multiple bids?
Given that it's a unique situation, yes, I would say so.
Okay. Then,
Very rarely, I don't think we normally buy a used piece of equipment. No. We always buy new, so this is kind of an anomaly for them, too. But it's hard to turn down this kind of a deal.
so based on that clarification, I will second that motion to accept the quote.
Motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries.
And I'll move based on the staff review and recommendation, approve the purchase of the 2007 International 7300 tanker truck from Boyer Ford in the amount of $49,999 with funding from the Capital Equipment Fund.
And I will second that.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carries. Okay, moving on, item 8B, the Peterson Road improvements. Larry, you gonna go over this for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Peterson Road is located north of County Road H2 and just west of Interstate 35E, and it is the last gravel roadway within the township. It also does not have sanitary sewer, water main, or storm sewer improvements on that roadway. In 2018, a development nearby made a connection to Peterson Road, but that connection is not yet open. That until all the construction is completed within the development, it is anticipated that work may be completed next summer, and so we're looking at studying Peterson Road for improvements. The first step is to prepare a feasibility report, which will study the cost to extend the utilities and complete street improvements. This street has potential for some easement issues. Some of the parcels don't have the dedicated right-of-way that you normally see, so we would have to study that as well. We're looking at studying this in two phases, studying it up to Mohegan Lane, and also studying it separately north of there to the end of Peterson Road. Perhaps they're built together, perhaps they're built separately. We are also looking at completing some soil, having a geotechnical firm do some soil borings to determine what type of soils are beneath the road in that area to help inform the design for the improvements. Part of what we're also looking for is approval to look at the right-of-way issues and obtain benefit appraisals for the properties along Peterson Road. So tonight, we're looking at 3 items. First is authorization to prepare the feasibility report for a not-to-exceed price of $23,500, which includes an estimated $4,000 for the geotechnical work. Also, a resolution ordering the preparation of a report on the street improvement, and then authorizing the town attorney to review right-of-way and obtain benefit appraisals for Peterson Road. So those are the items we're looking for tonight. Thank you.
Couple things, Larry, will you still get boring samples done through the winter?
Yes, they can still perform.
Are you doing them right on the road?
Yes.
Okay. And then the plat you submitted, you might want to update it a little bit. You've got 3 new owners on that road.
Yes, this is a graphic from
2012.
a number of years ago when this topic was began to be researched back at that time. So yes, we would update all the mapping as a part of the new report.
But the basic part has not changed. The road is still where the road is, correct? Nothing's, from 2012 till now, it's still where it
Yes.
is.
There's been some ownership changes.
That's it.
And parcel changes. Yep.
And at that feasibility study will help decide how wide we can get the road?
Yes, it would look at the width of the road. It would also, I didn't mention, look at pedestrian improvements along the road. It would study that as well.
Well, there are some challenges with this. That's
Yes.
maybe why it's been left gravel for so long.
Yes.
I'm afraid the Three Oaks Meadow job is forced us to expedite this, so. Thanks, Tom.
So the pedestrian issues really have to do with whether it's a dedicated sidewalk, trail, or part of the roadway? I mean, you're
Right,
looking at
whether
all
we
those
would
options?
put a sidewalk trail along one side of that or not,
Yeah.
and study the cost to do so, and the impacts to property.
All right, any questions, Lair?
And this feasibility report is still kind of determining when this might occur? We
Yeah,
do or
we
don't
have a
know?
schedule, looking at, we're thinking about having it complete maybe by end of next fall, but it lay out a schedule for that time frame. Certainly, any schedule is dependent on the board's approvals, of all the necessary steps to complete an improvement project.
Sure, I just want to make sure I understand. Potentially, the feasibility report's going to clarify a lot of stuff for us, but at that point, would that determine when actual construction begins? Or are you thinking that potentially, if everything lines up correctly and everything is approved, this could be constructed by end of next year?
Yes. We'd put the schedule together for completion by October 31st of next year. Of course, you can change that schedule.
Right.
If you feel it's too aggressive or,
Well, it's also going to come into play on funding,
Yeah.
because we've already pretty much set out our 2020 road improvement project, so throwing this into the mix, it may not be even feasible. That might be part of your
right,
feasibility
the
study.
cost studied will also determine, help determine that timing, because assessments are involved, but how much can we assess depends on the benefit appraisal we receive, and if the township has to kick in additional funds, that might affect your decision to complete it next year.
Better tell Tom to get another bond going.
But as the chair had pointed out, we've got ourselves into a position where that development expects that road to be open and traversing as part of the entrance and exits to that development, and so.
And this isn't an easy project only
No.
because it's a dirt road. It hasn't been ever upgraded, so just short of a cattle trail, it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, there's some great issues that, with the design are gonna be challenging as well when we actually build it.
And a lot of elevation problems because of drainage with
Yeah.
the way the road sits a little higher than the properties to the west, so.
Right.
Sure does. All righty.
All right, any other questions of Larry? So you want the first motion is preparation of feasibility report?
Yes, based on the town engineer review and recommendation, I'll move to authorize preparation of a feasibility report for a total not to exceed $23,500, which will include soil borings for an estimated amount of $4,000 with funding through the Improvement Fund 505.
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That motion carries.
Based on the town engineer review and recommendation, I'll move to adopt a resolution ordering preparation of a report on a street and utility improvement.
I
for
will
Peterson Road.
second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That motion carries.
Based on the town engineer review and recommendation, I'll move to authorize the town attorney to review the existing right-of-way and obtain benefit appraisal.
And I will second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? And that motion carries. All right, thanks, Larry. In fact, this looks like probably this next one is yours also. The water system improvements.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In late 2018, with standard testing of our wells, we learned that our manganese levels within our system were exceeding the Minnesota Department of Health guidance for manganese. Manganese is a natural occurring mineral that is pumped as groundwater is pumped out of the ground. Again, it's naturally occurring. The health-based guidance calls for 100 parts per billion for the standard when we deliver that water to the residents. The township, as we learned of that exceedance, has been managing the levels of manganese within the system by blending the water to deliver water under that health-based guidance to the residents of the community. That blending is very time-consuming for public works staff, and as we've discussed at several executive board meetings, we've researched options to make the blending more.
Larry, for the sake of the residents, explain how we're blending.
We are blending by taking water from wells that are below the standard and blending it with water from wells that are above the standard, mixing that water together and delivering it to the public. Again, this is time consuming for public works staff. Considering this summer, we had a lot of rain. If we do have a year where we have more drought conditions, it just adds to the maintenance burden of our public works staff. So we were looking at options to blend that water in a more manageable way, using some automation to make that blending process easier. We brought back several alternatives to the board at some of our executive meetings, and we landed on a blending of water that was the most cost effective as we could do. Includes improvements to well 4 and improvements to the SCADA system. The SCADA system is our control system for the water network. So the cost for the improvements, the construction is $450,000 to complete the improvements, and includes upgrading the capacity of well number 4 from 700 gallons per minute to 1,200 gallons per minute. And well 4 is a well that we are seeing lower levels of manganese in the water. It also, again, includes upgrades to the SCADA system for that.
You want to give the address of well number 4? That's by what, Four Seasons Park?
Address.
It's Mead.
Mead Park?
Mead Park.
Mead Park. Okay, that's close enough.
That's close enough.
Just so the residents understand which one we're talking about.
Yeah. So tonight, we're looking for authorization to take that next step and complete plans and specifications to, the timetable is to prepare plans and specifications over the next 2 months, bid the work out in February or March, and get the improvements completed before the heat of summer. So looking for approval tonight for authorization to complete engineering plans and specifications for not to exceed amount of $38,000.
Just so it's clear for everybody who may be listening, when you say state guidance, that is not a mandate,
It is not a mandate.
but at any moment, it could become the state standard.
Right.
And so it's in really our best interest to be working on these measures now.
Yes, when the Minnesota Department of Health starts to make changes, they start as a guidance, and then it goes to a standard.
And doing this, would this help us if there's a new guidance that comes out next year for a different mineral or type of element that we aren't tracking today? Would this help position us?
It could. That's hard to answer. It depends on if well number 4 is also low on other minerals or other components. If so, that would help us. If it's a standard or a guidance for other minerals that are more within well 4, it may not help us.
Well, I know this is an expensive project, but water is getting to be expensive, and we're not the only ones battling this, so I mean, it's not like we're inventing a new wheel here, but it's, you gotta do what you gotta do. I don't see any, we can't keep just trying to run Public Works ragged and try to keep this thing under control, so we're gonna have to, one way or the other, at least get a handle on this, so.
A reliance on a manual process is not in our best interest. To automate and improve this is the best going forward, I guess. And that's why those SCADA improvements and everything else has to be done, correct?
Yes, that was our recommendation as we studied this over the summer and our discussions at our executive board meeting.
Right, any other questions, comments? I would be looking for a motion to recommend.
I will move to authorize TKDA to complete an engineering plans and specifications for the improvements for an amount not to exceed $38,000 with funding from the Water Operating Fund.
A second on the motion?
Second.
Motion's made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on, under general business, 8D, we have the clerk treasurer annual performance evaluation.
Do you want to do that first, or do you want to do the added agenda item first?
Save the best till last.
Of course.
Oh,
This has already been kicked down the
I
road.
know, might as well go another step.
Board okay with that?
I'm fine.
Sure.
All right, well, you're gonna handle them both anyway, aren't you there, Patrick?
Sure. So, we've had ongoing, as you know, issues with our water meter replacement program over the last 4 months since we started in July. And we're getting down to basically the last, less than 1% of our total water meters in the township needing to be replacement or being replaced. And what's come along, in addition to the ones that we haven't been able to schedule, are a variety of either equipment issues, malfunctioning equipment issues, locations of water meters, et cetera, and especially in some of the older homes where they've been placed. What you're looking at here is correspondence that's kind of an example of one of the issues that we're running into. I wouldn't say that it's a pervasive issue, but it is. We've got a few that are out there like this. And essentially what staff would like to get a directive from the board regarding this is if the township is comfortable paying for, I guess, specialty plumbing service to address each one of these types of issues individually, where a plumber is essentially required to tend to it. We're estimating that it's only going to be between maybe 15 and 20 total that might fall into this category, maybe not even that many. But we're looking for direction before we go down this road.
I guess my question is, in this specific situation, the comment is that the water meter is behind the water heater.
Yes.
So which was installed first? And if the water meter was in place and the water heater was put in front of it, is that a township issue?
You could argue either way on that one, Scott. I think. I don't know if I can give you a black and white answer on that one.
And if that's the case, isn't also the shut-off coming into the house right next to the water meter, which is behind the hot water heater? So it's to the homeowner's advantage to be able to access at least that if he has a problem in the house.
One would think.
Yes.
And obviously, this is just only one of some of the ones we're having
This
issues
is the
with.
one that's the most persistent about it, or insistent about it. But I know we've got kind of a laundry list of close to, I think as of today, close to about 100 issues. But this is this type of an issue, so much so that it would require probably an expert plumber to do something about it. They're small, it's just a few, but it's still, it's an unbudgeted process that is part of a larger process that we've already invested in. And before we advance, we just kind of want to get the board's feel on it. I have my opinion, but
I think it heads us down a road of a slippery slope, personally, making, we'll approve yours, but we won't approve yours, and it gets into a judgment factor. I think Ed's point that they have to have access to the water, and which was installed first, is an item. How did it get in there in the first place? I suspect it was the meter first.
Oh, no, it'd have to be. Water goes into the house first. That's the first service to put in there, the water and the sewer connect. So the hot water heater was placed by someone in front of it. And obviously, that's a safety issue for the homeowner. He really should be able to get to that shut-off valve. And I know that some of these other ones are actual shut-off valves that are marginal that won't shut off. And then it gets to be an issue of, now you have to go outside to the outside shut-off to kill that before you come in to do so everyone's going to be a little bit different circumstances. So in order for us to say blanket, we're going to cover them all, doesn't make sense. And I don't know how you go take them one-on-one independently either. It's kind of
Chad?
time-consuming.
I guess I was town attorney. Chad, from a legal perspective, is it clear as to how, if there's supposed to be access to the meters on our behalf, or not clear, or do we know?
Not necessarily. It
Not
depends on the age of the home. If I remember correctly, the history of the township is such that meters weren't always used, and that meters are relatively,
Oh, yeah, we went a long time without meters.
Yeah,
Yes.
so some of these homes may have been built before water meters, in which case, the placing of the water meter in the home it's implied that the homeowner will allow it, simply because if they don't allow it, they won't get water service.
Well-
But that also kind of puts the township in a situation of having to accept the situation as it presently exists. And that if that's the only place you can put the water meter, that's your, you have to deal with that situation. You can't force a homeowner to adjust their home for the purpose of putting a water meter in.
But I'll ask, Patrick, you may not know, there currently is a meter in that house.
Yeah.
And it's probably this, I'm guessing it's the same install that all township residents put in when we went to meters.
That I couldn't tell you.
But more than likely, it is.
yeah.
Chances are.
And so therefore, there had to be access when it was originally installed. And somehow there was an alteration made, I'm guessing, after that fact. We don't know
Or
that.
the installer at the time just dealt with it.
Well,
In reading these emails, it appears that the contractor hired by the meter supplier is a bit bureaucratic.
Yes. Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
May I,
Sorry.
may I render an opinion on this and how we can word this? Based upon the correspondence with this resident, it was clear that the subcontractor was the one who issued a statement that it is a liability for them to have their staff make this change out based upon the location of the water meter. My recommendation is that if there are any other situations like this where the subcontractor has specifically stated it is a liability for them, that we take care of it.
Well, I'm starting to think this is a judgment call also. It wasn't a simple swap out that they get paid for, and it's a little harder, so they don't want to do it.
Probably.
So if,
That's probably part
so
of it.
if we have to have another contractor come in and finish some of these because of whatever, I think it behooves us to have another contractor look at it and see if they can do it. Go ahead and take care of it.
Okay.
If I may, following up on Pat's analysis, the contract with the meter supplier was that they would install them. They never said they would install, they never conditioned installation on whether or not it was easily done or not. So I think we should hold them to the contract and say, you agreed to install it? Install it. You pick up the cost.
You stepped on my touchdown call.
I'm sorry about that.
The contractor, Core Main, in our last discussion with them, stated that whatever the subcontractor was not able to complete, which we were up to, like I said, about 350, be it because they weren't able to schedule or logistic issues like this, that they would make that right, or they would help finish out the project. I would suggest, kind of along the lines of what Chad is saying, is that we tell this person and anybody else who's having issues along these lines that we are entrusting the completion of the project to our contractor, not the subcontractor, to finish it out. And let them evaluate and tell us why they aren't able to do something like this.
I think it's probably the least they can do, seeing as how they're already in the breach of the contract, because it was not finished on a timely manner. So, to me, it's a good faith thing to get these more difficult ones still handled.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that approach. I just don't want to have township funds spent on a project that should have been taken care of by the contractor and the subcontractor. So, if you can manage that?
If I may make one other comment, it appears that this is an example of something we should consider in the future when the town has to install meters or other equipment, which the homeowner has to, which is a condition of the homeowner obtaining a service from the township, that we should condition that service on the homeowner, making sure that the service is, that access to the service is reasonable and clear. And that is their responsibility to make sure that's the case. Because I see what everyone's driving at here is that this was an after-the-fact water meter, and they made the problem, they could have. It's possible the water meter is an after-the-fact issue, that they actually created the problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too bureaucratic, but it's something to consider in the future.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I think just for now, I think it's the general contractor's responsibility to fulfill his contract, and this falls under it. Now, I understand the township may have to get a little bit involved with these little tougher ones with the residents to maybe help mediate it, but I don't see why, as Steve says, I don't see why we would have to spend any funds to get it done. We had a contract to replace all these, and they're not honoring it.
That's correct.
And Pat, at the same time, we have said that if they weren't installed, we were going to give them a $300
Yeah.
service. I don't think we can do that as long as there's active approach to resolve this.
Oh, I totally agree. And we've
On the
already,
record.
told this individual that we've waived that.
Okay.
All right, so I think this is something we have to deal back to the general contractor and staff is, I think, can work out the logistics.
Okay.
Without the town putting some kind of motion on this to blanket it, I don't see how we can do it.
No, I don't either.
I guess I'm looking forward to what Core and Main has as a plan to
Well,
finish
and
this out.
Dale has a pretty good working relationship with them, so.
Core and Main?
Yeah. I thought he did with I can't remember the gentleman's name.
The salesman?
The salespeople.
Yeah, well, that's
Well-
true.
So I'm curious, was this kind of running along the lines of your opinion that you mentioned earlier? Okay.
Yeah. I still think if it's a small enough percentage that well, you know what? I want to see what
Just
they.
make it
what
go
they're-
away?
I want to see what they're going to present to us for
I think that would make, yeah.
the completion of this.
All right, so.
And I also would add that I hope that none of us are around to go through another water meter replacement program in the town.
Well, we were supposed to have bought the best in the
That's right.
betas,
I know.
so they should last like forever. All right, so what I'm hearing is we don't need any board action on this item.
No, sir.
All right. Anything else on it? Or we beat it up?
No, I think we're fine.
Okay. All right, so now we will go back to the clerk treasurer annual performance evaluation, which I have right here. Steve's in mine, and I gather you had emailed it, so.
I mean,
he's-
yeah.
Yep, so he's got a copy of that.
Thought you guys took care of this.
Oh, we weren't there.
Yeah, we
so
kicked it down the road again.
road.
We're trying to make him sweat.
Good job. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I will submit to you my self-evaluation, which you have in your possession. And as I noted in my memo to you, this is my initial idea for you to take into consideration about how you'd like to evaluate the clerk treasurer position. If you have any tweaks that you'd like to make to it, please feel free. I think we're falling within all legal guidelines for an evaluation of a public employee. That's why I included Chad in on distribution. What we did at my former employer, Ed, is something
I
very
wasn't your former employer.
is something very similar to this. There is a minimum amount of points that are required for the position to continue under a non-probationary status, and that total points was 147 as being considered as satisfactory and not needing a corrective action plan. So before I get into accomplishments and goals, I could start by giving you what I did as a self-evaluation, total points. We can take a cumulative or a composite of your 3 scores, and you can all consider from that point if you'd like to consider under normal auspices of employment.
Well, I know all of us were above 147,
Oh, okay,
so,
that's fine.
so you just barely passed.
Okay, it's kind of the story of my life. I gave myself 168 points, which was mostly 3s, couple of 4s. I will note 1 5 was in here, was responding to emergencies. I think we all did that very well together this past year. I would also state that, as I also noted in my memo to you, that the goals achieved of this last year are completely shared with staff and the board. Even after 12 months, and I'm sure after 12 years, I'll still be learning a lot of stuff for this position. And the staff in particular on a daily basis has been very, very patient and very supportive, very positive over the 12 months. So what I'll go through here in terms of goals and objectives are 100% shared with everybody within the township, which has been wonderful to work for thus far. Start with some accomplishments over the last year. Number one, we did a full redo on all existing job descriptions and creation of new position and accompanying descriptions. We did a new, efficient, and consolidated job evaluation system and accompanying policy, which was enacted 2 meetings ago. There's a new employee manual with our township policies, of which all employees will need to acknowledge by signature at their evaluations that we are currently holding. Successful integration of electronic concern reporting with respective staff. I wouldn't say it is perfect, but it is being utilized in a manner that it has not been used before, which is very helpful to us all. All paper files from the Public Works Building, board minutes, commission minutes, agendas, enabling documents, and financial records have been converted to electronic and Laserfiche. This next summer we have in the budget, hopefully still, interns to come in and complete that project this next summer. So everything that will be in, that is paper in Township Hall will be gone by the end of this summer. Electronic distribution system for all commissions and boards within the township we changed to. We re-landscaped the administrative offices. We did RFP and pre-con for security upgrades inside the administrative offices, which is in full swing now as of 2 weeks ago. The water gremlin situation, I've been the primary contact for the township, and counting as of when I submitted this to you a couple weeks ago, there have been 23 media inquiries to date and 7 different data requests regarding that specific issue, which we have fulfilled 100% each time. Coordination and execution of public process for phase 1 of the township street improvement project, which has been fantastic to work with TKDA and Larry and Jim and Dale. It's been a really, really nicely coordinated effort by everybody involved, for sure. We negotiated a settlement with a former employee. That was within the first couple of weeks. The ongoing water meter replacement completion date, which was 11/22, that's of course changed, but still going. We've got a more focused effort on township visibility through our social media and website applications. I personally have gotten more established in professional work groups, and who can forget the water tower rupture and the double homicides in January of this last year.
It's not really an accomplishment, is it?
Yeah. Objectives for 2020. After discussion briefly at the executive committee this last time around, Steve suggested we put in some more objective measurement wording for my objectives. So here's the best shot: review and rewrite all township ordinances. We are beginning that here this week, actually. Implement electronic payroll and personnel database management. As soon as we've got our full new change of status and employee paperwork put into Laserfiche, that will be an easy change for us. Phase 2 of the street improvement project, which we wanted to implement and execute, which we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. The public meeting, neighborhood meeting, will be this Wednesday, the 4th, so that is underway. We will be doing a vendor evaluation and township finances. Scott was one of the ones that Scott spearheaded this last 6 months that we're going to get more into. Tom's not here to hear the cheerleading. We're going to try to find funds to build his Polo Lake Parks restroom. He's been gunning for that for years, apparently. So, continue planning towards an amenable Bald Eagle Boulevard improvements. We are looking to acquire LGA, a municipal state aid, Both our representatives at the Senate and House level have been notified and are actively working with us now to create the appropriate language to submit to the legislature for its consideration this year again. Ed and I will be meeting with representatives with Jim Lake here in the next couple of weeks to stabilize and work on that relationship from an administrative level. My personal one is this last year, I think I really was focused on stabilizing my presence and understanding of office works. I do look to get more into the community through participation in nonprofit groups over the next year. We are working on the rewrite of our ordinances. We're going to integrate our building permit system electronically. We're going to continue our paper reduction process, as I explained earlier. The I-35, we're going to continue the I-35E interchange discussions with various municipal partners as well as the state. We're going to facilitate the next turn upgrade. We have budgeted currently a code enforcement administrative planner position to start summer 2020. Expand the involvement with planning, or with the planner and understanding of township assets. I've been woefully inadequate with that with Tom. I need to work with him a lot closer this next year. Create acceptable parameters between building officials and public works. We're hoping to do that through the new position that we are proposing to the board. Maintain our township position on the water gremlin situation. And with the help, of course, and the leadership of Chad and Patrick, Kelly and Lemons, navigate through the White Bear Lake lawsuit and appropriate responses. And then create a programmatic approach to township's infrastructure shortcomings, which we're working on with water and streets, et cetera. Reevaluate a longstanding partnerships and project funding, and improve on the logistics for Township Day and Township Cleanup Day over this next year, which we actually, Township Cleanup Day, we've already started on with Republic Services through our utility commission. So that's the list of what's going to hopefully happen over the next year. And what we did at my former employer, at this time I took comments from you, suggestions, and that kind of thing about what you'd like to see over the next year as well. Or what you would have liked to have seen done better in the past year.
Have you taken next year's goals, have you done any kind of prioritization, or you just just throwing them in a basket?
I think number one priority for me for this next year is the ordinance rewrite and representing that to the board to consider as well.
Okay, and
Yep.
my personal one would be LGA, but.
Oh, okay.
And the only other thing is, this is gonna take time, obviously, because a year doesn't get you even close, but the history of the town really plays a big part of your job too, because a lot of these things, some of us know, some of us don't. We've lost a lot of full-time people that have just really known the town. So I know it's hard to catch up with some of that stuff, and I know Bill Short is still a little bit involved, but boy, all the information, all the backgrounds we can get, that really helps, especially on your goals, so.
Yeah.
Any comments?
I was going to say, well, local government aid and MGA, whatever you call it, that's really not in your hands to obtain or not obtain, only be a supporter in the direction. So contrary to what Ed says, I do believe that what you have the nail on the head. I think our ordinance is a prime area where we need to modernize and be more objective in the approach, which coincides with having a code enforcement officer, as you had mentioned earlier. So I'm all for that. And I'll just say, on behalf of myself, this has been a very challenging year, and you came in with feet on the ground and picked up the pace. So I was very happy with your first year of employment here. And if in 12 years from now, I'll say this, I probably will not be on the board 12 years from now, but I sure hope you are here with us and still striving to be a success. So I'll leave it at that for now.
looking to stick around until I drop. How about
You
that?
might be.
No, please don't do it anytime soon, okay?
I don't want to go through this again.
I would just echo what Ed and Steve mentioned as far as their top priorities. I personally like the community outreach through the nonprofits, and we can sync up on that at some other point. But to the point about the history, yeah, Bill had a ton of stuff, others did. Sarah is obviously trying to soak up as much knowledge as she can about the township, and obviously you would get a couple birds with one stone right there, since it's a nonprofit with the Historical Society. She's got an awful lot of knowledge there. The other thing that I'm going to throw out that's not on here that I wanted to bring up when we got together a couple weeks ago and I wasn't there is somehow increase resident participation in our commissions and just general township activities. I mean, we've got a few commissions that are short of personnel, of residents, and this is the residents' opportunity to get involved, or to at least make sure that their voices are heard. And that would help in a lot of ways further this community to where we're having actual grassroots support of how the township is operating.
Okay. That's a good one. Didn't even think about that.
And like I said, with history, that's just gonna come with time. As you get more familiar and more comfortable with the town, those things are gonna keep coming up and you're gonna learn more about it, so.
Bill's on call. Every time he stops by, I get a 10 to 15-minute tutorial on somebody's property.
And it's not so much just having it, it's remembering it, if it's not written down.
Remember what? One other thing I meant to mention, I'm sorry, I forgot. See, I forgot. This is my first rodeo, my first year, so I personally appreciated the patience that you've given me this past year, explaining why certain things happen in a certain logical procession. So it's just being able to learn from you, even though you're new in this position. I guess we were both new in these roles this year. But I did appreciate your ability to explain this to me, even though you did hit the ground running. You came in and instantly it's like, we're going to do this. Oh, by the way, let me explain to you how or why we approach it this way, or things you might want to keep in mind. So for me personally, that was a big benefit.
I think it was good timing that we both came in together, because Scott's had a lot of questions that he just would ask me, and I would know the answer to
But
them.
we enjoyed surprising them with things.
I know you did.
Wait, what am I supposed to do?
You'll learn.
But the vast majority of the questions that Scott would ask have been new guy questions, and guess what? I'm a new guy, so kind of forced my hand into looking into a lot of that stuff that I just kind of took for granted that Scott was asking about, so.
Anything else?
Well, I was going to say, you had mentioned, I believe, that your knowledge, I said one of the areas you need to work on is the public works area, and strengthening that relationship, and continue to build trust among the staff and your overall leadership style. And everybody leads differently. And I know you said you've been very open. I've not heard one speck of grumbling from employees that you're not.
Good.
So that speaks well that you must be communicating, and I applaud you for that, and say continue. So.
And that's part of the evaluation sheet where I had to actually check a box that I don't know how well you are
Yeah.
communicating with some of the staff, because we don't have
Sure.
offices there.
Right.
I mean, all we see is maybe an exec meeting get together, but, so when it comes to communicating with all the staff, we're a little bit shy of that. And, we're a little spoiled with Bill Short here forever, but I don't know if there was a right or wrong the way you came in and decided to change things. I think it was a great, fresh approach, because even now, we never did this with Bill. We never had an evaluation.
Never.
I mean, Bill did evaluations for the rest of the staff, but
Sure.
we had never done that. So now we have a chance to put your feet to the fire.
That's right.
Which you seem to enjoy doing.
Because he handles it so well. It's kind of getting to the point where it's
Yeah,
not
I
even
know,
fun
it's not
anymore.
fun.
I used to have as much hair as Scott when I started this job.
That's not true.
Was it this dark?
Yeah, it's nothing like that anymore.
All right, Scott, or Patrick, so I guess we're going to keep you.
Was this a thumbs up?
Yeah, yeah. I think you have a consensus between all three board members. You did a fine job, and we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you.
You know what? I think the township is lucky to have you.
Well, thanks. I'm lucky to be here. This is a great job. Despite the drama of this first year, I took it as an opportunity just to learn more about everything that comes along with it, and there's been plenty of opportunities. So in process now, what you should do is everything that the guys have submitted to you, bring by.
Got it right here.
Okay, and I will sign that, and you will sign it, and it
Okay.
will go on my personnel file, and we will move on.
All right, perfect.
Okay? Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. 9A we've done. We are now to open time. I see we have a couple of students, maybe?
Yeah.
Want to come up to the podium and say where you are and where you're from?
They sure don't.
I guess not.
I like the stare.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the first to do
I
it.
know.
Not force you.
We never get any students to take that on, do we?
No.
All right, seeing none, item number 11, I need a motion for receipt of agenda materials and supplements.
So moved?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed. Motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned at 8:08.
Thanks, guys.